Hello people, my name is Chris Dangerfield and that is an image of my brain most of the time. So yesterday I made a video and we looked at part of a lecture by Penn State Professor Sam Richards. Fair play to Penn State for making these lectures public. I assure you most universities at the moment are so lost in their own leftist ideology they wouldn't make any of their propaganda and indoctrination public. So this one, again, this isn't the full lecture, it's just a segment from it, so take that in mind. I'll link to this video in the description. This is called Black Stereotypes of Oppression. Roll VT, don't smash nothing, don't like, don't subscribe, just enjoy yourself. Here we go.
Okay, so here's my question to you. I want to go back to the other day, right? So Dalton, if you were here the other day, you remember your comment to the effect was we were talking about white privilege, right? And, dude, thanks, bro. And you said, at some point, the two of you were talking, and at some point you said, you know, the two of you sound really angry, right? You said, it was angry.
Well, I said aggressive.
Aggressive, yeah, okay. Even better. Aggressive, right? And so here's my question, right? So first off, for the two of you, how do you know, as women, as black women or brown, you happen to both be black, so it could be black and brown women, it doesn't, but as black women, how do you know, how do you when something uncomfortable happens, that you're like, oh, what was that? How do you know when it's about gender or when it's about race? What are the signals that you have? Like, so when he made the comment about, wow, the two of you sound really aggressive, how do you know when it's about gender or when it's about race?
I just want to say, let's remember that these people, they're probably like 20 years old. I mean, I was a stand-up comedian. I've been in band as a younger man. I was in bands for my sins, and I've been a YouTuber for about 10 years. You know, I'm quite confident with this, and I'm old. So respect to them for doing this, regardless of whatever they say. They're sitting in front of a class of 700 people, and there's cameras there. That's not easy. Added to that, that geezer's sitting in between two black women, talking about black stereotypes of aggression, and now for a kickoff that he said they were aggressive.
Signals are there as black women?
I mean, what he said, I mean, I'm not going to say like what you said was necessarily like your fault. Like that's just like part of just like society perception.
Oh, stupid, it's not your fault. You don't even know what you're saying. You're so lost.
Like it's like an inward thing, just the way like that we're built. Like a lot of people are built as Americans. So I feel like when it comes to certain stereotypes, so what's often commonly seen, so like for black women are often seen as like aggressive or loud or like quote unquote ghetto or whatever, like that's when the stereotype comes into play. And that's also when like intersectionality comes into play, because it's like a mix of both. So I feel like it goes to women issues, because then like women can't speak up without like fear of being perceived a certain way.
Sure, like the data are pretty clear that women, the things that I can do, getting angry, appearing to be aggressive, being loud, being any number of things will actually, in most situations, will uplift me, will give me more authority, make me more likable, will do all sorts of things, and that for the two of you as women, just women, will actually work against you. But so the intersectionality thing, so how about you, like what are the cues, what are the signals, like in that moment, when did we...
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's also things that women can do socially that would cause a man not to be elevated, that would actually benefit a woman. They're different.
Did you go to race or did you go to gender?
I personally went to both, because I felt like the comment was very stereotypical.
The geezer leaning away from the one who's spoken. I wonder after this one talks whether he sent us.
Typical. Anytime black women are given a platform, or women of color are given a platform to talk about race or sensitive subjects, I think that is just the go-to. Oh, you're being aggressive. Oh, you're being the angry black woman. And I really did feel targeted. I felt singled out. I felt like when you think about women and women talking about these sensitive topics, the first go-to is, oh, you're being sensitive or you're being emotional, but then when you
No, he actually said you were aggressive. I mean, there is a chance they were being aggressive, of course.
intersect the fact of being a black woman, then you get this, you're being aggressive, you're being rude.
So where do you have, where in your mind, like just for the two of you, we're gonna get to you, bro, right? But just in your minds, like what story do you tell yourself about where that comes from? When people say, either men or white people say, yeah, you're being aggressive or you're rude or whatever it is, right?
Remember when she said that fella, he essentially doesn't know what he's saying because I think she said it's something like, it's society and that or something. I wonder if she affords herself the same level of passivity when it comes to what she thinks. She won't.
What story do you tell yourself about why they say that?
I say that because they didn't like what I had to say.
Really aggressive, really hostile. Like you are. Out of all the different ways you could have said that, you came across aggressive and hostile. Now that's all right if you don't mind being seen as aggressive and hostile. You know, there's a place for that. But during debate, it isn't ideal. And in a lecture about black stereotypes, the choice is yours.
Anytime.
What do you mean they didn't like it?
I mean, I actually watched the clip, and I watched it a lot, and I really got a lot of feedback from that, and I really don't think I was aggressive at all. I just think that you in particular and the gentleman that was up here probably didn't like what I had.
There's a reason that, have a look as it scans past that one of these, this one here, can you see my cursor there? There's a reason she's got her hand over her face and that she's laughing. Because she knows, like I do, and I'm guessing you do, that she's coming across in an unpleasant, aggressive manner. And the irony is, you know, there's rivers of it on this stage at the moment.
I just think that you in particular and the gentleman that was up here probably didn't like what I had to say. So instead of coming at me intellectually saying, like, you know, trying to counteract the argument, you
he knows it as well. If I'm in somewhere like a KFC and someone starts talking to me like this, it's just a question of when fists are getting thrown, isn't it? You know, this doesn't bode well for a debate.
You just went to the easy.
Look at Sam Richards. He's just thinking, wow.
Scapegoat and just called me the angry black woman. And that's what they do. You tone police.
That's what they do. What? White people. Look at her looking at him. You tone police. Now just full on attacking him.
Me?
Yeah, but he was actually on your team.
Yeah.
He was trying to make the same argument, right?
Oh dear.
You were at that moment. You were on the black and brown team. So what if he did? So let's just imagine for a second. So this is you came to the conclusion that he didn't like what you had to say. But I'm going to remind you.
No, she came to the conclusion that he didn't like her. Simple. And then she had to come to another conclusion. Why doesn't he like me? And she went simple. I'm black.
Now, so I'm going to ask you to go at it from a slightly different way. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
He is saying you're wrong.
we're just exploring. He was on your team,
right?
And he said that. So now, where do you think that came from?
Because
can't compute. I'm going to guess she's going to repeat herself using different words.
he probably identified with the individual and didn't like what I had to say.
Okay. All right, Ian, go. What do you think?
Yeah, Sam Richards, yeah. Okay, right. Let's see if someone else can shed some honesty into the situation.
I feel like I said, I feel like it's just like a part of like society.
Like 4 or 5 times she said like. I mean, again, they're young. Okay.
Idol view, and I feel like, I mean,
Whoa, sorry, we need that again.
like I said, I feel like it's just like a part of like a societal view, and I feel like, I mean, it's 2019, but prior to 2019, there's so many things that created like that stereotype, and I feel like the intersectionality comes into play when it's like Like she said, you know, women are seen as, you know, if you do this, you know, you're too emotional or whatever. But the race, like the black race, is often perceived as angry, and I feel like that's done like purposely when it comes to like the criminal justice system. Like a black male, if he
just buzzwords, keywords, that's like intersectionality, like the other one said, tone policing. I'm not feeling an argument here. I'm not actually learning what she thinks. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. At the moment, it's a threadbare response.
like gets a little bit loud, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone like clutch their purses and all that. So I feel like when you're
white people do that.
Black women doing that, it's like the same type of theory, and I feel it's like through like media, like news outlets, movies, different
the media,
things like that, that just affect like people's like perception like on the daily, especially like living and seeing that for like what 21 years. It's just like how it seems.
Dude, how about you? So you thought about it, right? Or obviously you thought about it over the weekend. Where do you think? Where do you imagine that the comment? Where do you?
I beg you to show some balls, not literally.
Tell yourself that comment came from.
I think that regardless of whether or not I think I'm going to take myself away from the word, right?
Yeah.
I think that it came from, like, I was witnessing something, like you said, right? Like, so you attributed to, you were saying something that I didn't like, right? That is true to a certain extent, obviously, or I wouldn't have said that, right? So I'm not saying that it was what you were saying. It was how you were saying it.
So we're tone policing. Okay.
Well, you were tone policing.
Rolls her eyes. We're tone policing again, third. Just in case you didn't see my video yesterday, there's been studies into the use of like, because like means similar to. So it's like a certainty modifier. It allows you afterwards to, almost on an unconscious level, you're saying it's like that, it's like. I'm not sure, I'm not certain. And in this sort of circumstance, I'd like to think they don't say like that much when talking to their friends or potential employers.
You see, that's
basically what it was, tone policing.
Yeah,
she's so aggressive, it's amazing.
You didn't have a problem with the message, you had a problem with the messenger. And
the reason is because
aggressive.
if you were looking at the body language of the people you were talking to, they were like hunched over, they were being really quiet.
So I need to be apologizing.
Amazing. I will take it back so we can watch this in full, but for Sam Richards, this is gold. For the audience, this is gold. For Black Stereotypes, it's zinc.
Apologetic for being.
They were like hunched over. They were being really quiet.
So I need to be apologetic for being confident.
No, wait, hang on.
I need to be apologetic for being confident.
They weren't going to
Look at this mess.
listen to what you were saying.
Wait, hang on. Wait,
no one's
hang
going
on.
to listen
I
to
want to
you.
hear. No, I want to hear what you have to say.
if-
No, hang on. First off, wait, hold on one second.
Let me just calm down the really aggressive approaches that that are making this untenable.
Is the word is tone policing? Mm-hmm. All right, I got you. All right, man. Just want to be clear. All right, dude. So you would still say.
Really interesting that Sam Richards has now placed himself very close to that girl. This is an authority maneuver. He's there as if to say, calm down. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start using his hands, not necessarily touching them a hand on the shoulder in a minute would be ideal. It would have been ideal a few seconds ago. Modern University better not do that, probably get sued. But a raise of the hand to keep her quiet, or at least attempt to. Without a doubt, that's why he's standing there, because this has got the potential to be amazing, because the students now are not only learning through discussion, but they're learning through demonstration.
That you felt as though you would go back and say, no, my perception was that the two of them were actually a little bit more aggressive than they needed to be.
Well, I think like using the word aggressive, like I think that's almost like another conversation. Like
okay, I got you, but you
right. But I would like to go back to like identifying like a series of actions that I felt like was making the conversation we were having like worse.
Okay, no, I got you.
The quality of the conversation between both parties was getting worse because they were uncomfortable.
Yeah, okay.
And I wanted to ensure that like everybody was kind of understanding where everybody else was coming from, because they weren't uncomfortable, and I felt like I should say something to kind of make them more comfortable.
But listen, dude, I hear that. as a fellow white brother in the world of whiteness, I get that, right? However, right, you could have, so I'm going to now go to the invisible strings piece, right? And tone policing, for example, is what that is that's a connection to invisible strings that people are connected to, right? So I'm going to go to that. So you are back
kind of just saying, yeah, that's a nothing.
back here, and your arms are up like the puppet, right? And the strings are coming down. And you easily could have said, oh, hey, y'all. Like, the three of us are I'm feeling like we're being a little bit aggressive here. Let's just back off a little bit because they're like, whatever.
Yeah, but he might not have thought it was all three of them. He might have thought it was her or those two. Are you asking him? Okay, so maybe the message or the lecture is sometimes you have to lie, you have to have a little bit of discretion around the truth to better achieve your goal, and certainly in business that's a reality. Socially and during argumentation, not so much, but I'll be interested to see where this goes. Would it have been better for his team had he have suggested that the three of them need to evaluate their method, and method being a code word for attitude? That actually makes sense.
Right? Look at their body language. But you didn't say that. And so what you said was to the two of them, hey, I feel like you two are being pretty aggressive. And you were just doing, you were doing what you were doing, right? Got it? So I'm not even saying if you were aggressive or weren't aggressive. I mean, I will personally say I didn't experience you as aggressive, but that's neither here nor there, right?
A lot of people felt like that I wasn't aggressive.
No, I know.
She's banging that drum. Yeah.
I really don't think you were. But however, right, what I'm trying to...
What about today, though, Mr. Richards?
What I want to say to you is, right, if I'm you, and me as a sociologist, if I'm you thinking about everything that I talked about in class today, I'm thinking, wow, in what ways did I make that response because of factors and forces and things that affect me that I don't see and I don't understand? Like, for example, here, can you just sit right there? Can you just come up here really fast? That you very likely, I will say this as a sociologist who studies this stuff, very likely you would not have made the same comment. You would not have used the word...
I wholly disagree.
Aggressive? Very likely.
Very likely is not the same as definitely wouldn't.
What's your name? If Katie had been sitting there along with Monet, and Katie was saying everything that Alaire said, it's very likely you would not have used the word aggressive. Right?
I think this is really poor from Sam Richards because, he's speculating, it's conjecture. How are you basing anything on a hypothetical that supports your desire to suggest that these stereotypes are in place and have got no substantial kind of foundation? It's not fair on that student at all to put him in this position, because now if he says, oh, I would, which is equal conjecture and equal speculation, but you've put him in a position where if he says that, he's suggesting he knows more than the expert.
Right? Now, what does that mean, right? So what does that mean for you? Like, no, hang on. Hold that. Dude, you're going to say something too. Katie, what's it mean for you as a white woman that you can say everything that Alaire said in the same tone if it's true? Look, I'm not being the white liberal here, right?
If you need to say it, Sam.
Not being like, yeah, Sam the white liberal guy, he just needs to show the world that white people are racist. I'm not doing that, right? I'm just trying to be really thoughtful about the research that's out there. So Katie, what's it mean for you that you could say everything that Alaire said, the same tone of voice and same everything, and Dalton here would not identify you as aggressive, but...
I find this that has become shocking to suggest that. I mean, that Dalton bloke, if I was in now, I'd say, whoa. If you want to suggest that, can you stop saying me? Because I'm telling you, I would have said that. If she'd have acted the same, I would have said that. This isn't about race, this isn't about skin colour, it's about behaviour.
It actually may have a kind of a positive response to you, even if the people sitting over here were still seated in the same way and had the same body language. What does that mean for you as a white woman?
I definitely feel like I'd get a much different response and it'd be different because, I don't know, I feel like it'd be more of like, oh, that's cute, you have this viewpoint.
Okay,
you know?
exactly, got you.
And like,
wouldn't be taken seriously.
Yeah, I think it'd be more that.
You don't know. He might say, hey.
Yeah, but Sam, you're kind of missing the whole part of this that you cleverly, dare I say, tactically interrupted, which was the bit where the woman you're suggesting only gets called aggressive because of her skin colour was getting aggressive.
But hang on, but be careful here.
And you're hanging the white guy out to dry because your research says otherwise.
Right? So they're not the same, they're just different, right? So got it? What Katie just said is like, yeah, but I feel like I would have the same thing, right? So meaning like, hey, Alaire and I are the same, really, in a way, because I would get put down too. It's like, no. It may be what's kind of what she was implying, but that's not true, right? You're different, right? So it's all true. Like, so you like, but in all likelihood, you'd be seen different. And definitely, if it was me sitting here, stand up really fast, just to demonstrate, stand right here. So if it was me saying the same thing, not being me, but just another white guy, it's really likely. It's absolutely likely. You would never have said aggressive. Like what?
I would. And I think people watching this would. I think the truth would.
What's that mean, dude? Like, what's it mean?
I'm just going to ask you a question. Like,
oh, this is interesting. Please, go on, son. I beg you to support yourself. Stand your ground. If you believe it, I'm not encouraging him to lie. It would be very interesting if he said, no, I just find black women are aggressive. Okay, he could say that. But if he honestly believes that it was about her behaviour and what she was saying, please stand your ground.
Like, how do you know that?
Oh, lovely, thank you. And that's not easy for this kid in front of 700 students. He's got life after this lecture. You know, I was in higher education for 7-8 years. It wasn't easy then. It's even worse now. Fair play. He's now going to try and argue with the very confident, very articulate lecturer to defend himself, and already brilliant. Let's take it back so we can see the whole bit.
Like, what's that mean, dude? Like, what's it mean?
I'm just going to ask you a question. Like, how do you know that?
But to read the data, we do study here. I know, I'll tell you, dude, this is great. God, thank you for asking that.
Can I have one more question, too?
No, hang on, I'm going to answer that one, right? Dude,
that wasn't me. I don't know why it went like that then.
We do study after... No, listen up.
And these studies you do, they're 100%, are they? They point out that in every situation that happens, do they? This is rough. I feel for that bloke.
Dude, if Dalton... Yo. The question Dalton just asked right there, that's the single most important question to ask in this class. Don't let me just be pulling thoughts out of my rear end and spitting them out in here, and you're like...
I've got a funny feeling you're about to, though.
Oh, Sam said it, so it must be true. You know, of course. Dude, thank you for asking that. Here's where I come from. We do study after study after...
Interesting. He was about to say, here's how I know. And he modified it, we'll play it again, to here's where it comes from. Because he doesn't know.
Of course. Dude, thank you for asking that. Here's where I come from. We do study after study after study where we test it up. Remember what I just did right there with the interviewing? Right? Where we put people in these rooms and we control for everything except one tiny thing. So here we control for everything. We do this over and over again and over and over and over. And we put you in a room and have a seat again. And we have you talk...
And for sure, sociological tests have never changed over time. They've never been disputed. They've never been loaded with bias by the people who fund them.
Make an argument about something to somebody, and these two women are doing a script, in the same script, and they're actors, and do the same thing over and over and over again, right? And then we just keep bringing you in, a different you in, and somebody else, another white person, another, and we just one after another, and we just see, and then we change their script.
And if I was Dalton, I'd say what and that and what happened happens 100% of the time. It happens every single time, does it? Out of how many tests?
And we make them just a little bit nicer. And a little bit whatever, a little less aggressive than you were, and you weren't. You were like on a
Absolutely exposed himself. Let's have that again.
little bit whatever, a little less aggressive than you were, and you weren't. You were like on a 2 on an aggression scale.
I mean, has Sam there not exposed this? He just sort of said, we make them, he almost said, we even make them less aggressive than you were. But he realised what that was going to suggest, so he's had to modify it. I mean, you weren't even, and then he realised if he doesn't say that she's aggressive, his argument's gonna fall apart. But if he does say she's aggressive, then Dalton is in the right. So again, he's had to modify it. I mean, you were only 2 out of 10, which is 2 more than nothing.
So we make you a 1, and then we make
the only alternative after 2 is 1. Amazing. Look at her face. She knows it. She knows what he's just said about her. And his argument's fallen apart, I'm afraid.
Make you a 0, and we just keep seeing how people respond. And what we find is that, oh my God, people keep seeing women, and black women in particular, as aggressive in places.
There could be another reason for that, though, Sam. Did your tests account for that? I mean, you've just said it. I mean, 1 out of 10 for aggressive is more than none out of 10. It's more than not aggressive. And any aggression is not that useful in a debate situation. If I was in a debate situation and someone started being aggressive, 1 out of 10 is the same as 10 out of 100. I don't want people on my team to be 10 aggressive, because if you allow them to do that, they might then become 20, 30, 40 out of 100. You nip it in the bud. You've exposed that, you've exposed your tests, you've exposed the way you're trying to manage this real life situation, and I love every minute of it.
And then we change it up. We have men come in and they do the same script. And you sit here with men, and they say exactly what Alaire said.
And the only differential you're not taking into account is all these men and all these women you have coming in are individuals.
And they're trained actors, so their body language is the same, and everything's the same.
Oh, because that's right. You can't tell an actor from an actual person. No, and I'm sure the actors you're getting to do sociological studies are proper at the top of their game. They turn down movies to do your $20 an hour psychology tests.
Same, and then people like you who are in your shoes don't ever say you're being aggressive.
Literally ever? Are you sure that's what the tests show?
And so that's how I know that. We just study after study after study. Which all it means is, dude.
He's going to say you're normal.
You have no idea what's going on in your life, just like I don't. Right. Okay, so what do you want to say? And then they get the last 2 comments.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Sam was so over-egging the pudding there because it allowed him to cover up the contradiction that threatened the undoing of his whole argument here.
You get 30 seconds.
Like, what percentage of those white
Great question.
people are doing that? Because if it's 100%.
No, it's not 100%.
Okay.
Bingo, ringo, dingo.
Well, then how do you know that I'm not in the minority?
Well,
beautiful.
We don't know that, right?
It's over. That's the end of your point.
That's why we have no idea.
On top of that, how do you not know that it's not being attributed to some other attribute?
Amazing. Fair play to this fella. Show him some love in the comments, because he's probably looking online after this session almost certainly ruined his life on campus.
No, dude, here's what you want to say.
Maybe I'm being confident, actually.
No, dude, here's what you want to say.
So, I don't understand how it can't be contributed to other things.
Yeah, Sam won't have it. He won't accept it. It's got to be his way or the highway here. This is unfortunate, because I like this fella's lectures on the whole. I went into this one expecting to be largely supportive of what he said, but I'm not going to do that when I'm not.
Thanks.
everything you're saying, if I could have written a script out for you.
Oh, again, it would be what you've just said. Again, that doesn't mean it's not. If anything, if you could have written a script out, he's going to say it would be what Sam's saying. That geezer's saying. Yeah, that could also be because that's the right thing to say to question your logic.
To say just that, I would have written it out exactly like that.
Yeah, because it's true. Let me give you a little example, people. When I was moving out of Soho, my second flat in Soho, there was a couple of grand deposit, and I was moving to Cambodia. I wanted that $2,000. I got that place absolutely spotless. The geezer come round representing the agency, the landlords, to check the place over. And as he was doing it, I said, "So what do you make of the place?" He was like, "Yeah." He was, ticking boxes, making notes. I said, "To be honest with you, it's in a better state than when I moved in here." And he said, "Yeah, everyone says that." And I said, "Well, maybe they're right." This is the same thing that's going on there. Just because Sam suggests he could predict what this geezer is going to say now, he's saying that he could predict it because that's what the research shows. But it could also be because it's true.
We don't know. We don't know.
And now this is bad teaching for one of the best university teachers online. This is now bad. He's not teaching him now. He's not encouraging him to be the critical student that he is being. He's got his hand on his shoulder. He wouldn't do that to one of those girls, I assure you. He's poking him. We don't know. Just get it in your thick head. That's what I had at school. Teachers banging me. Get it into your thick skull. Yeah, this is a real letdown.
All I'm going to say is the best we can do is say, this might be happening. Let me just look in a mirror and try to figure out what's going on with me. Dude, what's your final comment?
I just want to say what you said, like, were you talking about earlier, like their body tone, how you felt like that was, how you perceived her.
No one said body tone. Come on.
Us as being aggressive. I feel like you're just contradicting yourself at the same time, because their body tone just goes back to like the viewpoint that she is being aggressive. If she said the same thing.
Yeah, I can't entertain this nonsense. Well, there you go, people. That really didn't turn out how I thought it would. I thought, I really enjoy Sam's lectures, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy some more, but I'm certainly going to be looking a little bit closer after the very interesting surprise we got there today. Look after yourselves, people. Stand up for the truth. Stand your ground when you believe you're right and the evidence suggests you are.